I love my toesies. So,
Jared.
Jason, Game of
Thrones?
Thrones!
I promise to fight for the living. I intend to keep that promise.
So Game of Thrones is over. There's no more Game of Thrones.
It's really depressing.
I think you're the biggest fan of Game of Thrones of anybody that I know. Jesus
Do
Christ.
tell.
Don't play with knives.
I like to shine my sword.
I like to polish my sword with my bare skin.
The blood makes it shine. Yes, I am a huge Game of Thrones fan. Recently just started reading the books.
I read on the internet that there was some controversy
Controversies?
with the ending.
On the internet?
With the ending.
Hush your lies now. How dare you?
And that's like, so we just wanted to like discuss it and talk about the controversies.
As much as I'm a fanboy and a zombie at heart, I love the game, or White Walker, I guess you could say.
Mm-hmm. A White Walker at heart?
Yeah. I cannot deny they sped it up and they rushed through that last two seasons.
Before we go over it, let's say that like we're going to spoil the show. We're going to talk about the ending.
We are.
And we're going to...
And if you haven't seen it, you just don't care.
I almost think like if you haven't seen it, you would hear about it. You would hear about the shit that happened later.
Yeah, like I don't know how you avoid the red wedding and stuff.
So this is like a full spoiler episode of
Game of Thrones.
Jesus Christ. So let's start with the beginning. Like what what did the show...
The first episode, I remember... I like Lord of the Rings and stuff, but it wasn't on my radar of this Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
I hadn't read the books my friend Beth had. I only knew, some surface level stuff. No spoilers.
I didn't know anything about it. Like,
I had no spoilers. I had no idea what was going to happen.
Yeah, this was like 2011, 2012, I think.
Yeah.
It was a long time ago.
2012. I know the books have been around since the late 90s. So spoilers have been out there. Nobody cared, until now. But that first episode when I was watching it, I was like, all right, I can get into this. It's
the first
adult
episode,
Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, that's kind of like what it hooked me in with. It was like this fantasy setting, and then there were like adult violent things happening, so it felt like a more grown-up version of Lord of the Rings.
Yeah. And I like how magic was like, a long time ago. Maybe there were dragons 150 years ago.
Yeah. It was low fantasy is what they call that.
Snarks and grumpkins were just jokes surrounding that world.
Yeah.
Tyrion. Peter Dinklage. Just introducing me to him. That alone, I allowed them to make whatever mistakes in the show they want because they introduced me to my love, Peter Dinklage.
I actually knew about him beforehand.
I did not.
He was
Station Agent?
Station Agent, yeah. I saw Station Agent like years before that.
I didn't see it until after Game of Thrones, and that was only because the Dink.
Yeah.
I love the Dinks.
I gotta have my
Unfortunate name for a man with disabilities. Besides the point.
That's irrelevant.
That's not relevant in here or there.
As the show went on, so people have like a jump the shark moment for the show.
I know.
I don't know of any like specific.
I remember
time when I started not liking it. I don't know if I ever really not liked it.
Yeah, it was only maybe season 5 where I was like, but even that had Hard Home, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was season 5 where I was like, and stuff with Dany in season 2 with the Karth and all, like all that Middle Eastern stuff I didn't care for.
Oh, wow.
Don't give them nukes. Dragons, as it were. But I loved Dany's arc throughout the seasons until they kind of sped some stuff up towards the end. Where I'm like, I like where you're going, but you really flew in the finish line.
I was actually talking to a friend of mine about this a while ago, and he was talking about how like the show was in the very beginning of the show. It made a fantasy world that was very grounded. It made things very realistic. The amount of time that it took to travel to different places.
Yeah.
And then as the show went on, and some people like identify that as when the show started deviating from the books, that they started running out of ideas and started creating like stories.
Yeah, I mean, George R. R. Martin still has 2 books that he has to put out: Winds of Winter and A Hint of Spring. or A Dream of Spring.
But he was talking about how like the
Something about
show
spring.
like lost that groundedness, like when things had consequences.
Yeah,
And he specifically talked about the scene where Arya gets stabbed by the waif.
Yeah, that was like, I'm pretty sure you're dying.
Yeah, like
Very
if that
slowly.
and if that had happened in an earlier season, people like make that argument a lot. Like if that happened in an earlier season, she would have been dead. It happened, and she kind of like just got over it.
That
like,
was the point where they're
stabbed in the stomach.
They didn't have the books anymore for reference, so they're
Yeah.
just like trying to. All right, well, they know the end game because George, I'm sure, as a producer, told them where the end will be for the story.
Sure.
So they had to get to that point, but the in-between stuff, they didn't have the books anymore. Like the first couple seasons, they're taking direct lines and scenes from the books, which was amazing when I started reading them, because I'm like, oh, this is just like the show.
Yeah.
Reverse that. but it was very clear that towards the end, once they got past where he was in the book, it wasn't the same quality of writing.
Yeah.
I still say it's better than something on the CW, or, you know, I mean, you gotta put it on a...
you grade that on a curve.
Yeah, for what they showed us, for the bar they raised so high.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was starting to befuddle a little bit. But I still wasn't hating it. It wasn't...
I think it unconsciously made me apathetic.
Yeah.
Like I started to just not care about when they started coming out in the last few seasons. And then in the last episode, it was like, all right, whatever.
Well, the problem for me was them ending the Night King threat and the White Walkers
that was
in the middle of the season.
I think like that was the moment where I unconsciously just didn't give a shit after that.
Because really, in that world, who cares if Cersei's queen or like...
Yeah.
You just ended climate change. Like, this was going to destroy the whole world of Westeros, Essos, and all them.
How that wasn't the main threat of this series, I feel like was the biggest mistake that they made in the last season.
And people will bring up the whole show was never about that. They were in the background. But I'm like, yeah, that was the thing. They were in the background.
Yeah.
They're the real threat. You guys shouldn't care about these Game of Thrones. Who cares what's on the Iron Throne if you're going to die?
Yeah, I kind of thought that was what the point of them being in the background was like they were saying like all of these like stupid humans are like quibbling about like earthly matters.
Yeah.
And then there's like the real threat is like
It's not really Earth.
It's not, well, or Westeros matters.
You don't have... they might as well had 3 sons. They were on Tatooine or something.
And the point was that is this other thing that's completely that you're all not focused on at all.
That's why I don't know why they didn't do 10 episodes. I heard HBO offered DB and Weiss or whatever their names are.
Yeah, there's a lot of like stories about how George R.R. Martin wanted more episodes, more seasons even.
I mean, we don't
HBO
really know.
wanted more seasons.
It's all internet rumors.
Yeah, I really honestly don't know what to think. Like the showrunners have said, publicly that some of this stuff isn't true. I don't know what like has been like confirmed or not. I know that the biggest like rumor is that they wanted it to, end the show early so they could start doing their Star Wars.
Yeah,
stuff.
I don't buy that though, because they started on that last season before they ever got that.
Yeah,
Star
like
Wars. All that stuff was years before, so that I don't buy that. That's fanboys online trying to figure out why they hate. Nobody hates Game of Thrones more than fans of Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
It's a shame because I genuinely still love it. Disappointed in certain parts.
You didn't like the ending.
We should talk about the last episode to get that out of the way, so I can praise how beautiful the first seasons and the first half of the show was.
Yeah,
because that last episode, I was loving it up to the point when Jon does his kiss of death and stabs Dany.
Why? Why didn't you like that part?
No, I did like that part.
Oh.
It's just, it jump cut right after that.
Yeah.
To weeks later, I guess. I don't know. He grew quite a beard. Maybe a month.
It was months later. It had to be.
It's like, you yada, yada, yada past so much that I need to know how Grey Worm dealt with the fact that Dany, and how did they even find out? Because the dragon took her and left. He could have just, I don't know where she is.
Yeah,
man.
I was wondering that too. That didn't make any sense to me because...
This blood on the floor, where'd that come from?
Yeah, that whole scene like made no sense if you think about the previous scene. Like they talked about how like Jon Snow was captured at that point, but how did they know any of that stuff had happened?
And how did he? I mean, I guess the Unsullied are very militaristic.
What are they have forensics?
Perhaps
DNA.
Perhaps he confessed, and out of honor, well, I can't kill you. I mean, that seems more level-headed than I think Grey Worm is. But at some point, he bent the knee, and they took him into custody.
She's like their messiah.
I know. You'd think they'd take it harder.
But they just arrested him?
Especially the Dothraki, because her blood riders are a blood oath to...
Yeah, they were still there.
If she dies, they have to give their lives after they've avenged her. Like, that's kind of... Even in the show, they made it clear, blood riders...
I mean, people who make the point that it loses some of its like realism, that makes sense to me quite a bit, because
strange to say that about dragons and White Walkers.
Yeah, I know, but they build rules in these worlds, and if they don't follow them, then people kind of like they fall out of love.
I was willing to let some things go early on when people said, well, they're teleporting from... I understand going from New York to California in 3 days, walking with horses, a little strange, but I can let some of that go. It's not laziness per se, although many people on the internet hate so much. There's so much hate in them. Mm-hmm. They want to say lazy and awful, and go watch anything on any other network and you'll see the quality. But for this quality, I genuinely loved where they went, but they rushed. They just rushed.
Yeah.
They rushed to the end. They yada, yada, yada over stuff that I needed to see.
And I think that's the biggest criticism, is that they were rushing. They were, doing things that didn't make any sense, that didn't add up, that didn't fit the rules of the world they already established.
I'm fine with Dany like losing her shit for a second and going, you know what, fuck all it, burn you all.
I was okay with that.
Once you started going zigzaggy down this, you are burning kids alive, which you saved kids in a couple seasons. I just need to see you progress a little bit further before you definitely get to that.
I was okay with her like completely losing her mind. I think the thing that I wasn't okay with was the reason why she did it, which didn't make
seriously their innocence against her.
It seemed to be not really any reason. Like, she just did it, and she was...
I think she was so pissed at Cersei. And I'm going with what they're writing here, so, I'm just trying to rationalize. She's so pissed at Cersei for cutting off Missandei's head.
Yeah.
That she's just like, you're gonna watch me kill all these people. Not that Cersei gives a fuck.
Yeah.
But, Dany doesn't know that. She just wanted to show her fire and blood, and she did.
She did, and there were virtually no consequences for doing it. Like,
I think it would have been better.
Nobody had like a moment afterward that was like,
well, Tyrion did.
What the fuck?
And Jon Snow did.
Sort of.
Two characters did.
Sort of. Like, they like softly brushed it. Like,
well, Jon Snow was having PTSD walking around going, what the fuck happened? Same with Tyrion.
Yeah, but Jon Snow didn't say, like, why did you do that?
He did when he walked in to her alone before he murdered her. He gave her a moment. He gave her a moment to, like, children were burned.
Little children burned.
You're my queen. You're my queen. You'll always be my queen. But after the battle, it was like, children were burned. Like, he got mad, and she had like a psychopathic calmness to her that I did like.
Yeah.
I just preferred to see that play out in like 3 more episodes or something.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, yeah. If they had sort of telegraphed their declining relationship, like if they had like a few scenes of them like arguing about it, and then him making a decision to do it.
Yeah.
So him saying like, oh yeah, like I can't get through to her. This is who she is.
Which they did. You can see it in his face. He's trying to give her a chance when he's talking to her. Like, why did you do? Why,
Yeah.
He's trying to rationalize in head. And when she says, well, the wrong things, she says stuff where it clarifies. Oh,
the wrong.
So
thing.
You have gone too far, and there's nothing I can do.
Guess I got to stab a bit.
Arya Stark. This is for Arya Stark. Arya lived, thank God. So
yeah,
her and Tyrion were the one. Well, I know. In the end of the day, you stop the army of undead destroying all life. So who cares? But having said that, I'm glad she got to sail west to the Americas.
Well, I think like that was another one of the bigger criticisms, was that she had done all this stuff to save Westeros, to save her family, so her family's safe. And then the moment everything's over, she's like, all right,
I'm out of here.
I gotta leave.
Well, I mean, it is sad, but I like
it. It made me think, but like, oh, you don't have any idea what to do with her, do you? You just...
Well, I think perhaps George told them at the end she does sail off to visit new continents,
Why?
But that's why you have to read the 2 books that are going to come out to explain why, because they didn't do it.
Unless they have like a thing in the books that's like there's some sort of motivation they seed earlier.
She seems to be losing herself more in the books, from Arya to no one. You know, like she comes back towards the end and is like, "I'm Arya Stark. Take me to Westeros." Faceless man. Let me grab a few of them faces on the way.
Let me get a couple faces.
Put them in the bag. Put them in the bag. Back away. Don't chase me.
Give me those faces.
We're even. I'm out. But I think in the book, it appears more like she really is becoming no one. So maybe she doesn't really go back to Arya.
Oh,
so
you
much.
think like she's like her personality's changing?
Yeah, definitely.
Well,
Especially
I
when she goes blind.
Like she thinks she's like being converted in some sort of
Yes.
way. Like
she seems more converted. Yeah, more in the book, from my perspective. Now I'm on the very end of Dance with Dragons. Like I got a little bit more.
Yeah.
But I think I've gotten all the Arya chapters. See, in the book, she killed a guy who deserted the Night's Watch, hanging out in Bravos, like drinking. This guy in Bravos is being a dipshit asshole. He's drinking. He's doing, but he deserted the Night's Watch. So she's like, you need to die.
Really?
Yeah. She's a lot colder. Much more has happened to her, though.
Is she doing that as like because she's mad that he broke the law?
Yeah, and Jon Snow's there, so she feels obligation to. It's hard to explain.
Jon Snow's still at the wall at this point?
Yeah, he ain't dead yet. But I mean, in the end of the day, I love the show. You can't ignore the first couple seasons, man.
Yeah, the first few seasons were great.
And season 4, you think 1 through 3, after the Red Wedding, after Ned, after everything like that, well, how can they? And then they give us season 4, which is the bread and butter. I love it. I like to play with it.
Remind me what happens in season 4.
Oberyn Martell, the Viper.
Right. Don't do that.
The Viper versus the Mountain, man. I love that whole season, just from the beginning to
that was a good arc.
And it wasn't just Oberyn. Everything that happened there with Tyrion.
Yeah, because that had a lot of like. That was when Game of Thrones was still surprising me with stuff.
Yeah.
Like, that was a big surprise when...
Because honestly, I thought after they destroyed us with the Red Wedding, they'd come back with Oberyn killing the Mountain.
Yeah. That was definitely the arc you thinking was going to happen.
Not his head getting popped.
Crushing his face.
It's like a sadder version of Princess Bride. You killed my family. And then you see his face get smashed in. Oh, the 6-fingered man is more powerful than I thought.
The 2-thumbed man.
Overall, I love the show. So
I like... I don't know. It's like I don't really even... Like, when it ended, I didn't really feel that bummed. Just kind of like...
Really? I was.
Just kind of like over.
I was bummed. Not because of the quality, but because, that's it. I don't have another... I'm reading the books, which is fun. And hopefully George won't die, and I'll put the next 2 out. Hopefully.
Don't hold your breath.
Yeah, I know. He shouldn't hold his breath.
You should be breathing more.
Breathe all you can, George. But I was sad. Every season I anticipated, waited for it. But the reason I waited on the books was because I loved the show so much. I didn't want anything spoiled for me.
Yeah. Weren't you in like a fuck it spoiler mode at one point where you were just like, I'll just read everything even before you...
No, I did look up stuff on the internet, but they had been past the books at that point. So I was like, you know what? I don't care anymore. But I didn't, because I didn't know Oberyn was after that, and I didn't know he was going to die.
Yeah.
So it really was until after season 5. Because 5, I was getting... Something's not quite right.
I remember when
Jon Snow died at the end. What?
Yeah.
Does it make sense cinematically or story-wise?
Yeah, I feel like that was the last time that the show really surprised me with something. But
I was so angry about that I was like, this doesn't make sense. That's when I started reading everything I could on the internet to find out what...
You thought it was permanent?
Yeah, I did. Luckily, a few months into it, they start filming and he's on set. I'm like, tricky. I believe he lives.
Something's fishy.
Because the world they put... Until you think about Beric Dondarrion coming back 6, 7 fucking times or whatever, I'm like, oh yeah, the power is all there. They've been hinting at it. It's just people coming back to life. It's like, what? Whoa, I can't believe you've done this.
Oh, fuck. I can't believe you've done this.
Well, the book brought the mom back.
Catelyn, Lady Stoneheart. Which is good. I'm reading it in the book and it's good, but it's like...
What is the explanation for that?
Beric Dondarrion and the Robin Hood people...
they brought him back?
The people without banners. Brotherhood without banners.
Yeah.
Came across her on the shore of the lake because they threw her into a river naked. They were just so disrespectful. Like in that season of Rome. Like, just throw her in the lake. They come across her body, and she's a mess because she's been dead for a few days.
Yeah.
And, she's scraped her face up. So Beric Dondarrion almost does Luke Skywalker in The Last Jedi, where he uses all his energy and his force powers and then brings her back to life, but he dies.
Oh, he dies in the books?
Yeah, he's dead.
Oh.
Dead, so
he's been dead all this time?
Yeah. Ever since 3 days after the Red Wedding.
Wow. Okay. So I guess he's not that big of a character.
Well, in the sense that he came back over and over again and it was in the right place at the right time to find Catelyn's body and bring her back to life.
I guess that would make his purpose mean a little more.
Then, I guess, saving Arya.
Is that what it's supposed to be?
In the show, I think he saved Arya in that one.
That's the point of what he did in the
last it's weaker. In the book, it's
season.
Obviously. I guess better because she still comes back as an asshole. And, well, not so. She's hanging Freys left and right with the Brotherhood without banners.
Well,
she's leading.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm fine with that. Yeah. I think the show, instead of doing that, the long con, they just had Arya poison them all in one scene.
Yeah.
And that was like Lady Stoneheart's like, shit, she did it in one night. I've been spending almost a year doing this.
What is so has anybody met her in the books? Like anybody? Like
Brienne of Tarth and Podrick have just been captured by the Brotherhood without banners.
Oh.
And Lady Stoneheart reveals herself. Lady Stoneheart thinks she's a false friend, and she's working now for Jaime Lannister.
Oh, okay.
And so Catelyn gives her the option, be either the sword or the rope. You go kill Jaime, or I hang you now for a traitor. It's pretty clear that she says, "Okay, I will kill Jaime." I mean, we won't know until the Winds of Winter. That's the end of that arc.
Oh, this is
Hangman's Noose? It's
what am I thinking of?
Cliffhanger?
Cliffhanger.
Cliffhanger.
A hang cliffer?
A hang cliffer. Yes, that is the cliffhanger. I feel like I'm talking about Stallone's movie or something.
I'm Brad
It's more exciting thing in the books. I'll give it that, but it's up in your imagination. That's always going to be better than what you see on screen.
Yeah,
I mean, people got to give that credit. They're spoiled almost if they hate this. Like if you read Batman comics in the '90s and then watched fucking Val Kilmer or whatever the fuck.
Yeah, that would have been.
It's like, oh, you're destroying my properties.
Yeah.
You're lucky. You should be lucky, internet, that you have this.
Some books don't have any movies or TV shows.
Or some movies have no books. Some things you love have nothing.
Some things have never been written that you love.
You like The Wheel of Time? You're never going to see that.
No?
We just did Game of Thrones, and then before that, Lord of the Rings. I think this sort of obsession over this story, or this universe world, Wheel of Time got fucked. They're going to have to wait 50 more years before they can do anything.
Yeah.
It's an age of miracles for this to be on TV for me. And I know it's hyperbole when I talk about it, but I will acknowledge the last 2 seasons had problems.
Are you anticipating the spinoffs?
That I feel like you did for the last 2 seasons. I'm not really caring.
You just kind of don't want to, whatever.
I've got a pretty good idea. I've got a feeling that it will, once it starts, I'll be like engrossed. But right now, I'm like, I don't care. It's like 1,000 years or so in the past, and I mean, there will be Starks, they said, and direwolves.
But who cares?
That's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
You're not gonna have Tyrion. He won't be born for centuries.
Yeah, you have to make a whole new cast, and you have to have characters that people care about all over again, and it's going to be about a story that you don't have an existing, book story.
I feel
to go off of.
Similarly to how Avengers Endgame ended, and now we have this the Eternals coming.
Yeah,
and I'm like,
you don't care about these.
I know you will. Kevin Feige and George R. Martin can do no wrong in my mind. I know they will do right by me, but I'm not like dying and waiting to see it.
Maybe. I think I have a feeling that George R. Martin has nothing up his sleeve for the rest of these books.
You are acting like George is George Lucas. I think you're mistaken.
I think he's had no idea how to end this, and he's completely freaked out, and he's paralyzed, and he's just like, here's an idea, I'll throw this, and I'll have the show do this, and see if this works. And I think the book's going to be completely different.
I think the book will be completely different. except for the end game where they get, no pun intended.
I think
There's the where everyone ends. I think that is where his plan is.
if the book is different and everybody ends at a different spot, then now I will take that as proof that I am right. That
I will eat my hat.
You will eat your.
I'll eat my Indiana Jones replica hat.
Where is it?
It's right here.
Oh, okay. You will eat this hat if
it is completely. And I'm not talking about the road to get there.
Yeah.
The journey will be completely different. I mean, I think there's unicorns you talked about. So
Yeah. I'm saying
every unicorns.
If Arya's not
baseball,
if Arya's not going to Westeros or going west of Westeros,
I will eat my hat.
You will eat your hat. If Tyrion is not the hand of the new king,
if Bran
is not the king, I
think Bran's going to be king.
That sounds
because
like
reading the books, you actually can see how this kid could make the transition to king. Because everything is going through north of the wall with Hodor and all that. It's fucking insane. It's like Lord of the Rings. It's straight fantasy stuff. So if a kid goes through that, that's like King Arthur kind of shit. You know?
Yeah, but they don't have. But why? If they could just choose a new king themselves,
not yet.
Not yet. Get ready, because if they could just choose kings, if that was kind of the last
part
episode,
will be different. That part, I am not eating my hat if that's different, because that will be different.
Okay.
How they choose him, I have no idea.
Well, that's the thing. Like, they don't have a way to choose them. The show and the world that was built didn't make a method of doing that, so they just were like, at the very last scene, they're like, I guess we'll just choose whoever.
Whatever. Yeah, but I think that was supposed to be all the lords of Westeros left over. And
since when did they have that ability?
Well, in any situation where a king is killed and there's no heirs, the lords come together. That's how wars are fought in Westeros.
Is that how did they establish that the lords can choose a new monarchy?
No, but they could, because the Targaryens came over there with their dragons and burned everyone and said, I'm king now. And they're like, you got dragons. Okay, you're king now.
All right.
And then Robert Baratheon was like, he killed people because they didn't have their dragons. And he said, now I'm king. It just, that's what they've always been doing. The monarchy is bullshit. In real life as well.
Yeah.
I don't know why we ever had.
I don't know why you're putting the queen on blast.
She has no dragons. They're vulnerable. We can get them now. It's the show. Ultimately, I think George is trying to tell a story where Game of Thrones is ridiculous. It's nonsense. It doesn't matter if your kid's going to take over. It's just whoever fights and whoever.
Yeah, whoever has the biggest stick. And
it helps that Bran looks a lot like his mother, because she's from the South.
Yeah.
He's a Stark. That grabs the North. The North loves the Starks.
Yeah.
So the idea that they'd be okay with that, because it does seem to solidify North and the South. And the guy's like magic, and you figure out your futures and shit.
Nobody knows that.
Well, they'll find out. He'll open up a psychic shop or something. I'll read your palm. Make me king.
Oh, that's an interesting future you have.
Yes. I know. It's in the book. I think they will do that better, because you don't have to see his spaced out look.
Him offering no help,
straight up acid dog.
Offering no information, no help, no nothing. Just kind of just spacing out and saying that I'm just gonna watch shit.
I'm with people on Bran in that last season though, because he did nothing. I mean, when he said I'm going to go now. And watch the show. I was like, he just went into some ravens.
Didn't you think like, oh, Bran's gonna do some badass shit?
Yeah, like get into a dragon.
I'm gonna go now. Now it's time for Bran to Bran it up and see what he can do.
The only way I can rationalize it.
No, he just took a nap.
He kept himself vulnerable so the Night's King would. I'm fishing for bullshit here, but he left himself vulnerable so that the Night King would see him and then he'd come and get him. I guess I don't know.
I was so odd. But that was such a it just felt like foreshadowing for something, and then nothing happened.
Maybe George hadn't thought that part up yet, and so they didn't know what was going to happen with him.
I think they just put it in there. I think it was more
He's taking over a dragon in the book. I guarantee. He's taking over something. He's doing something big.
Yeah, it seems like they would have something fell.
I know. It felt like Bran was controlling something around here. He was about to break through the walls.
Fuck with me, will you?
I'm going away now. I'm gonna fuck with these two guys in another universe. It was disappointing, and not to mention how they treated Ghost, the direwolf. I was like, you just photoshopped him in scenes. It's like,
oh yeah, I remember I talked to you the day after that they had the like fake out last scene with Ghost, and you were
annoyed.
like, if that's the last scene with Ghost,
know.
Fuck this show.
Yeah, I mean, we did get him again for like 2 seconds while he rubs his little head. So that's something.
Yeah,
but it was just so annoying. You see how much they must spend on them dragons? You tell me they don't know fucking big wolves money?
Hey, like, dragons are a lot cheaper to make than just a bigger wolf.
You made fucking Frodo tiny using some force perspective. Just do that with a fucking regular dog.
No, that's too hard, Jared. Ugh. It's too hard to make wolves bigger.
I would have been happy with fucking Willow's just put these fur skins on dogs like in that movie Willow. I would have been fine with that. I mean, the lowest level anything but photoshopping them. I almost would have saw them like a slightly askew, like someone pasted them on there.
You just see Jon Snow in the far in the background going.
But in the show, they even established the connection the Starks have with the direwolves. Yeah. They're like almost familiars, like a vampire has or something.
It's a sigil.
It's their like soul.
Yeah.
Possibly in the book, when Jon dies, he goes into Ghost. I got a feeling that's going to happen. No, I don't know yet. But
well, if that's the way the book ends, then you're going to eat some hats.
No, he'll come back out of them and go back into the body. He's going back in his body. It's not going to be a fucking direwolf trying to kiss and fuck Dany. That's not what's going to happen. You're sick for thinking that.
Wait, you think Jon is going to die?
I think, well, he's already died.
But do you think he's going to die and his soul is going to go into...
And Ghost. And then
pop back out?
Missandei will do some jibber jabber, some toil and trouble and bubble and whatever. And then, whoop, his soul comes out of the Ghost and goes back into his body.
So the souls can just jump from bodies to bodies?
Hey, look, I didn't write this shit. I'm just trying to decide on what the fuck's going to happen.
All right.
I mean, that's, for a fantasy book, that's not that bad, considering they already have dragons and shit, and the precedent of Beric Dondarrion. They brought that guy back so many times. I'm like, just to save Catelyn?
Yeah.
Leave her dead.
He needs something else.
She's miserable. She has to like hold her throat in order to croak out some words because she's her throat was slit. It's just like, oh, put her out of her misery.
Well,
Beric, why did you do that?
How is she still alive? Is she a zombie or
she's like? I think she's a fire white. You got your whites. You got your White Walkers.
Okay.
White Walkers make whites, the zombies, undead, monstrous. Lord George R. Romero. There's a bit there somewhere. But I think when the Lord of Light brings somebody back, unless
it's a little different,
you think it is just some sort of because I actually believe in the Lord of Light now. They've converted me. I mean, look, he's showing his true colors. Believer. But like you said one time on the phone, maybe it's just a certain kind of magic, and there is no Lord of Light.
Yeah,
like, heresy. That never occurred to me. But whatever this magic is, this is the fire whites. Okay. This is the whites that the Lord of Light brings back. So they're, Beric Dondarrion's fine. He's got some scars. He's lost an eye, but
he's not.
And Catelyn, if she wasn't so fucked up to begin with and been tossed into a river for 3 days,
if she didn't end so violently,
she wouldn't be the mess she is. But she's still coherent. She's vengeful and evil, but she's not like a walking zombie dead.
I have a memory of when they brought back Beric on the show that his wounds were healed, or
he did make a notion that you feel more drained. Like your soul is drained. Like in a video game, you've lost your health cap.
But he didn't have like where he got. Didn't he get killed in some way that when they brought him back?
Down.
But he didn't have that.
It wasn't dangling off.
Yeah.
No, it was healed.
Okay.
A fire white.
Oh,
there you go.
There you go.
And it's very cold at the wall. I'm sure Jon's body is preserved just because it's colder in the books. It is so cold there. Like, you'll start getting frostbite if you're not near fire for too long. It's bad.
Really?
It's
really
cold.
How the hell do the wildlings live up there?
I don't know, furs?
Just get enough fur.
I guess they're Nords from Skyrim. I don't know. They have some sort of magical ability they're born with.
Yeah, I guess, because like they're even further north than everybody else, right?
Thousands of years. Maybe they just evolved to deal with it better.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm really just shooting out bullshit. That kind of nitpicking stuff, I can rationalize that to the end of days. I can do that with any book or fantasy story, like with these little things here.
Yeah. Well, Game of Thrones is over. That's it.
There's shows still going on, but nothing to my mind that is this huge.
Nothing that makes that event kind of feeling.
Yeah.
This is like a big, event that's like you're seeing live.
Yeah. I mean, I still have Legion. I love Legion. But
Yeah.
that's ending too. It's like there's doesn't seem to be much on the horizon.
No.
So
on that note,
on that happy note, Arya Stark.
Brianna Todd.
That was my Arnold.
Lady Stoneheart,
All they do is make noises. The two of them.
Hey,
Night is dark and full of towers.
the sword,
Yes, queen.